The mansion rose out of the trees like a rumor made of stone. Quiet, impossible, already listening. Iron gates parted without a sound, ushered us past a fountain where water climbed and fell in disciplined arcs, and closed again with the soft finality of a book snapping shut. The drive curved through manicured darkness, cypress cut like soldiers, hedges stitched tight, cameras blinking like patient stars. Beyond the double doors, warmth spilled over marble and wood, the kind that smells like money and the past. Safety waited there, hand extended. So did captivity. They took us to a guest wing that looked nothing like a guest anything. Cream walls, linen that breathed, a crib already assembled beside a king bed, as if my life had been measured to the inch and laid out. The windows were tall and useless, glass so thick it felt like architecture's promise to stop bullets. Beyond them, a lawn rolled down to a black mirror of water. Somewhere, nightbirds called, and the sound was both wild and curated. "This is temporary," Dante said, standing the way men stand in churches, hands relaxed, spine strict. "It's safe." "Safe," I echoed, testing the word against the bars I couldn't see. "And locked?" "And locked," he agreed. No apology, only fact. "There are 3 exits for you. Here, the private stair, the garage. 4 for anyone coming in without my permission. None." I walked to the window and pressed my palm to the view. My reflection floated against the lawn like a warning ghost. "You own the silence," I said, remembering the hospital. "Do you own the sky here too?" "I rent its attention," he said. The easiest kind of arrogance. Accurate. He nodded toward a panel near the door. Sleek, black, intelligent. "If you need anything, ask. Food, clothes, sleep, a doctor, darkness. If you don't want to talk to me, you never have to. Petra will handle it." "Petra?" I asked. "Petrova," he said. Something like warmth cutting through the names he keeps for people he respects. When she's not fighting death, she is domestic tyranny. "You'll like her." I should have told him I didn't want to like anyone who worked for him. Instead, my body remembered it was a mother and moved to the crib. Armand lay in it with the fierce peace of the heavily guarded, monitors soft and obedient on a rolling stand that looked obscene beside a bowl of peonies. He stirred when my hand hovered above him, as if scent were a language that could translate even here. "Rest," Dante said. "I'll be down the hall." "You'll be everywhere," I said, and it came out flatter than I intended. He didn't deny it. He reached past me, careful not to brush my sleeve, and dimmed the lamps to a gold that forgave. In the hush that followed, he did something small and disarming. He smiled. Not the knife edge that warns, not the incremental lift that buys time. A brief, unguarded tilt of the mouth that softened his whole face and, traitorously, my fear with it. "Your son snores," he said low, almost conspiratorial, very quietly, like a cat dreaming of bigger prey. My laugh was helpless, human, immediate. "He does," I admitted, and the sound released a knot under my ribs. The smile vanished, filed away, but its echo stayed, haunting the room kindly. After he left, the house introduced itself. The hallway outside breathed security in measured intervals. A shoe scuff, a whisper against an earpiece, the hush of a camera adjusting. In the sitting room, a fireplace held flame without smoke, a performance built for reverence. Books lined a wall, spines worn by hands that actually read them, margin notes in clean, precise script. Opposite the shelves hung art that didn't care if I understood it. In the corner, a piano waited with the patience of something that has weathered joy and funerals. Petrova arrived with a tray balanced like a crown. Soup that smelled like my childhood when it still believed in holidays. Tea dark enough to stand a spoon upright. She plucked my phone from my hand, slid it into a pocket that locked with a sigh. "No calls," she said, unapologetic. "Not tonight. I should tell later," she said. "Bread first. Sleep after. If you cannot sleep, lie down and pretend. The body will get the message." "So you do domestic tyranny," I said, "because some women must be met at the exact angle where they live." She considered, then allowed a micro-smile. "Everyone needs a hobby. Who lives here?" I asked when she turned to go. "Besides ghosts." "Too many men and too few keys," she said. "And a man who thinks walls are a love language." When the door closed, the quiet grew teeth. I sat on the edge of the bed and ate like I was auditioning for a role where appetite is survival. With each swallow, my shoulders lowered. With each breath, suspicion crept back, patient and right. This was safety, as designed by a man who wages wars for breakfast. Biometric locks that hummed when my palm hovered. Cameras nested where woodwork met shadow. The whisper of HVAC tuned to drown anything worth hearing. A sanctuary built in Sin's neighborhood, curated to forget Sin existed. I could taste the money in the water. I could taste the danger in the air. I walked the perimeter of the room like a caged animal learning the shape of captivity. The closet had already guessed my size. Drawers offered pajamas softer than forgiveness. A small safe blinked awake at the brush of my finger and asked for a code I hadn't yet earned. The bathroom was ridiculous. Marble so white it felt illegal. Towels thick enough to qualify as shelter. A tub that looked like a confession. I turned the water on and off just to prove I could. Back in the crib, Armin slept. Monitors tracing constellations the night couldn't see. I brushed a kiss at the edge of his hairline and tasted salt. "Safe," I whispered, and somewhere in the house a camera adjusted to hear me better. A knock that wasn't a knock, 2 sounds and a courtesy pause, preceded Dante's return. He stood in the doorway like a question mark the room had been trained to expect. No jacket now, sleeves pushed, the scar at his temple a pale parenthesis in the dark. "Perimeter up," he said. "Stairwell posted. Kitchen warned I'll be the one you blame if the soup is bad." "It wasn't," I said. "I'm trying to decide if that makes me angrier." "It should," he said. "It means I did this part right. This part," I repeated. "The part where you put me in a gilded box." He glanced around, seeing the prison I named and the refuge he built. "Sometimes cages and sanctuaries share a blueprint," he said. "The difference is who holds the key. And who has the courage to leave when the door opens," I added before I could stop myself. His mouth didn't move, but something in his eyes did. "You'll leave when you want," he said. "You'll stay as long as I need you safe." I wanted to fight. To throw the blankets at him and demand my shabby apartment with its thin walls and honest locks. Instead, I surprised us both. "Show me," I said. "If this is where we breathe, I need to know where to run when breath stops." He hesitated, then nodded, and the tour began. The private stair with a camera disguised as a molding rosette. The second exit hidden behind a panel that looked like art and opened like a secret. The safe room, with its reinforced door and quiet phone and shelves of water and fear, tucked behind the library, pretending to be a linen closet. He let me count steps. He let me test handles. He let me learn the weight of doors. On the landing, I made the mistake of looking down. The foyer spread beneath us like a stage set for power. A chandelier throwing constellations on polished stone, the clean angle of a grand piano, the kind of emptiness you only get when people are trained not to leave their lives out where others can see them. Dante watched me watch his world. And for a moment we were simply 2 people at the top of a staircase waiting for the other to step first. "There's a pool," he said finally, as if offering proof that joy existed here too. "He can learn to swim when he's stronger. There's a garden with tomatoes that taste like the sun they stole. There's a room with a projector where monsters are only shadows against a wall and always lose by the end. And there's a gate that doesn't open," I said. "It opens," he said. "For you. With me." I turned to him to say something unwise and necessary, but he looked past me toward the corridor, head angled, listening to a frequency the house reserved for him. Whatever it said loosened his jaw, then smoothed it. "You're safe," he said, as if reaffirming a decision. "I'll be down the hall." "Down the hall," I echoed, which meant everywhere. He was almost gone when I said his name. He looked back, only his head, the rest of him already in the next task. "Thank you," I said, and because I am not a saint, I added, "I hate this." He nodded, the smallest bow. Both can be true. After the door closed, night pressed its ear to the glass. I sat on the rug and let the house hum around me, a lullaby with lasers. Gratitude curled against me, purring and suspicious. Trapped and safe, innocent and compromised, I wore both like mismatched shoes and learned how to walk anyway. When I finally lay down, exhaustion claimed me with rough hands. Just before sleep dragged me under, something moved in the doorway, a shape. a presence, a pause, and I knew, without needing to see, that he was standing there, not crossing the threshold, checking that gates and ghosts kept their distance. His silhouette tipped once, an almost smile, like a small blessing he couldn't resist or didn't know he'd given. Fear softened around it. The mansion breathed, and the night for once did not argue with me. The mansion's silence didn't sleep. It watched. In the first week, I learned that you can get used to luxury even when it comes with invisible bars. I tracked every footstep outside our suite, counted meals left at the door, measured my son's progress against the tick of a clock that never showed its whole face. Safety and captivity, 2 tastes on the tongue, one sweeter, one easier to swallow. It was late, the kind of hour when the world softens but secrets ache sharper. Armand's breathing was steady, and the house's security detail fell into its routine lull. I sat awake, replaying every day since our rescue, until footsteps paused at the door. Not security, not quiet enough to be benign. Then a knock. Not a command, nothing to alarm, just a signal for conversation. Dante entered, breathtaking but spent, jacket folded over his arm, sleeves rolled to the elbows, scar pale in lamplight. He held a small wooden box, a relic, not a weapon. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, voice rough with something old. "Neither can you," I answered. "Not for years, I bet." He smiled, fatigue making him human. Without asking, he set the box on the table and paced for a moment, gathering words that cost him more than money. "You want to know why this matters to me?" he asked. I nodded. The admittance to a club of people who crave truth even when it cuts. He sat, tracing the edge of the box with his hand. "My daughter," he started, voice losing edge. "She was 5, fever, I trusted the system. I was important, but not enough. The hospital didn't move. The doctors didn't fear me then." His jaw flexed, fighting confession. "I arrived late. Bought a miracle after too many refusals. It didn't arrive in time." I watched him shrink into the memory, armor falling. She's why you won't let them give up on Armin," I said. He nodded, the ghost of a father flickering in tired eyes. "It's not about redemption," he said. "It's punishment. I know what loss is when your power means nothing." I searched his face for the villain I sometimes saw, and found instead only the kind of pain that remakes a man's outline. "I'm sorry," I said, "that no one was there for you." He flinched as if kindness was a sharper weapon. "You ever need to be cruel to survive?" he asked. "Yes," I whispered, but mostly to myself. The box he opened revealed a child's drawing, faded ribbon, a silver charm bracelet. He slid each item toward me with the reverence of an incomplete prayer. I kept these because they punished me. Every time I looked, I remembered how slow mercy can be. I shifted, suddenly fragile in my skin. "You're obsessed," I said, not as an accusation but as a diagnosis. He laughed, quiet, hollow. "It's guilt, not obsession. Only guilt is permanent." Silence thickened. Armin whimpered in his sleep, and the sound worked inside Dante like a file on old chains. "I lost her," he said, "and the city owed me the debt. Now every child is a chance to pay it." We sat in that truth, unmoored. I saw the armor he'd worn for years, built from threat, deal, and vigil, cracked wide for the sake of one memory that wouldn't forgive him. "I get it," I said softly, my own wounds echoing. "You need to believe saving Armin redeems you." He shook his head. "Not redeems, relieves." He met my gaze, and for the first time I saw him as a man haunted by tenderness, not just violence. "Do you ever regret the walls you've built?" I asked. "Only when I wish someone could climb them," he replied. "Tonight, I wish that." Vulnerability pressed between us, piercing armor and undoing every mask we'd built since the attack. Silence didn't hide anymore. It invited honesty. I touched the bracelet, heart pounding, not as payment, but as witness. "Thank you," I said, "for showing me what cost you more than enemies ever could." He allowed the moment, allowed it to change him. We both sat on the edge of wounds that might never close, But now, at least, we saw them, shaped them, named them. Outside, the mansion's security was just a backdrop. Inside, the real battle was admitting how much we needed someone who could recognize a ghost in the room, someone brave enough to grieve, and merciful enough to keep trying. He left me with her bracelet, the memory hollow and heavy, a promise and a wound with no cure. As I tucked it beside Armen, I understood. Every act of protection is haunted by guilt, and every act of trust costs a little more than forgiveness. But it was in that midnight truth, under the weight of old wounds and new hope, that the bond between hero and heroine was finally real, pierced and deepened, forging the story's next twists to come. The sense of sanctuary the mansion offered was an illusion, perfect and precious, but like all jewels, easy to crack under pressure. I woke in the half-light, some instinct pulling me to the window. A black car idled at the mouth of the drive, too far for an accident, too near for comfort. My heart hammered out warnings in the code only mothers and survivors know. Down the ornate hallways, sounds were wrong. An urgent voice snapped into silence, feet moving too quickly, too quietly. Dante was already in motion, shirt half-buttoned, face set in a fury that remembered every lesson blood ever taught him. Petrova appeared at the doorway, voice like a whip. "Stay with him. Do not move unless I say." Time fractured into seconds so bright they hurt. An alarm I'd never heard sang behind the walls, then died, cut off by a hand, or worse, by intent. The security glass near Armen flickered as the backup generator struggled for a breath. I pressed my son against me, willing my hope to outshout fear. Dante burst in, gun in hand, eyes scanning and recalculating. "One of mine is missing. Don't trust the uniforms. Get under the bed with him, now." The words were a lifeline and an earthquake. I obeyed without thinking. The door banged open and violence spilled like water. I heard the first shot but didn't see it. My face was buried against my boy's hair, desperate to be softer than the world. The shouts became a language I never wanted to learn. Code, betrayal, threats. Dante's voice cut through, a command laced with something raw. Mercy, or maybe the last strand of nerve snapping. A masked figure lunged into the room. Dante was faster, somehow everywhere at once. In the chaos, Armen's hand slipped from mine, snatched, whimpering. My scream cracked the whisper-thick air. Dante moved with a speed born of terror and purpose. Bullet, fist, a sound like bone and regret breaking at once. Through the tangle, he caught the attacker by the throat, a man once trusted, stripped bare by treachery. The standoff was breathless. The gun at the traitor's head shook, an execution waiting for a memory to interrupt. I met Dante's eyes across the wrecked space, and in that collision, the world held its breath. Love was a weapon in his hand and mine. I begged him with my gaze not to let vengeance win, not to become the monster his enemies painted. He stood frozen, heartbeat, trigger trust all trembling in the balance. Armen's eyes, frightened but searching for rescue, became the weight that tipped the scale. Dante snarled, tossed the traitor to the ground, and shouted orders. "Lock every door! Move her now!" Petrova swept us up, both arms full of urgency. I heard a door slam, boots thunder down the stairs, and security barking into radios. Sirens in the distance promised an answer too late. In the aftermath, chaos shivered through every wall. The traitor was gone, but not dead. Dante sat by Armen's side, hands splattered from the fight. His touch was gentle, too gentle for a man who seconds earlier could have ended a life. In that trembling quiet, I watched him come apart and reassemble. Mercy and violence warring for possession. With the immediate threat gone, my mind whirled with the betrayal, how love can sharpen into a weapon, how trust can gut you from within. Dante's world was war, and tonight, love demanded a new sacrifice. I knelt, kissed my confused, tear-stained child, then reached out to touch the hand of the man who'd chosen mercy over vengeance, but at a cost neither of us could count yet. Dante breathed once, heavy and shaking, then met my gaze. The admission plain, I nearly lost the line. Not just his anger, but himself. "I know," I said, forgiveness and fear stitched together with hope, but you didn't. Love, twisted and sharpened by betrayal, had spared more than just a life. It had pointed to the thing that would haunt us, the next wound, the next test, and demanded we answer with something fiercer than revenge. Outside, dawn crept closer, a lesson written in pale blue and red flashing across rain-polished stone. Inside, the echo of trust lost and found again hung heavy, reminding us both, mercy wounds but vengeance destroys, and the debt always asks for more. Night in the mansion is a living thing. Windows shudder beneath foreign lights, and every distant engine, every hushed voice pitches the promise of violence. The air is thick, charged with a dread that hums through floorboards, as if the house itself knows battle is coming. I wake with my son safe beside me, but every breath is a dare against fate. It begins with silence. Not the careful hush of security, but a blank cessation, alarms muted, cameras disabled by hands inside the wire. My pulse races. Dante's men converge with ritual precision, locking down corridors, radios crisscrossing threats. But something in the rhythm is wrong. The betrayal from earlier echoes. Someone inside the circle wants us broken. Dante finds me in the narrow pause before chaos, his jaw set for war. "They're here," he says, and there's no illusion left in his eyes. He pulls me close, hands shaking with anticipation. Mercy and rage battle beneath his skin. "Stay behind me, always." The first shots erupt like firecrackers, then crescendo into thunder. Glass rains down, doors split open, shadowed figures storm the main hall, faces masked by anger and money. The house, so meticulously constructed, is now a battlefield, marble and blood mingling with the cold perfume of gunpowder. Dante moves without hesitation. A blur through the carnage, ordering, shooting, shielding. Each gesture is violence woven tightly into salvation, a living contradiction. He calls men by coded names and they fall in line, protecting me and Armin with the kind of loyalty born in the dark. The enemy responds with cold calculation, seeking Dante, seeking me, seeking the child who became the center of a vendetta. It's not enough. Desperation consumes tactics. A masked man breaks past the barricade, gun raised, his target clear. Before anyone moves, I leap toward him, terror and love transmuted into reckless courage. I scream, driving him off balance. His shot explodes harmlessly into the chandelier. Dante is faster, firing with ruthless intent, ending the threat, but nearly crossing that invisible moral line where vengeance devours everything. The main hall floods with combat. Echoes of pain, anger, the promises that brought us here. One by one, Dante's men fall back, regroup, but the betrayal inside unravels their discipline. I see Dante about to kill a man who surrenders, eyes wild, the memory of his daughter and his vow twisting him toward something final, something damnable. I run, placing myself between his gun and the traitor. "Don't!" The word is barely language, just a plea for decency. Not for me. Not with Armin watching, he freezes, torn. His world is built on retribution and sacrifice. His love is jagged, weaponized, but my presence is a recalibration, a hard-won forgiveness, a reminder of limits. For one breathless moment, he chooses to spare, to accept mercy with all its agony. Behind us, a shot rings out, a stray badly aimed, the kind that ends everything if fortune turns. I shield Armin, body braced for impact, but it misses. Petrova dives, adrenaline fierce, pulling us back behind the rubble. The battle sharpens in seconds. Doors open for new attacks. Old debts being collected in lead and blood. Dante is everywhere, waging his last stand, fighting to keep us alive, but also to keep himself worthy of the vow he made. He moves through halls filled with violence, every action threaded with the memory of the child she lost, the one he's trying and failing to redeem. His hands are bloody but careful, his eyes haunted but determined. Each bullet fired is judgment and salvation. At last, as dawn threatens on the horizon, the final enemy falls, not to violence, but to surrender and realization. Dante kneels with exhaustion, battered and changed. Around him, the wounded nurse their pain. But my son lives, breathes freely. The price paid is uncountable. Blood for hope, violence for survival. In the raw aftermath, Dante crouches beside me, hesitating in a way that says more than words. You saved me, he admits, from myself. The line between hero and monster blurs, as does the reason we learn to love the broken. I rest my head on his shoulder, grief and relief tangled. You saved us, I reply, by refusing to lose yourself. A single bullet nearly ended us, but love, imperfect, blood-stained, desperately salvaged, remains. The mansion bears the scars. Its halls echo with both darkness and light. Around us, the world grows quiet, afraid to disturb the story that's not yet finished. Outside, the city stirs in tentative mourning. Inside, redemption and violence entwined settle at last. The real rescue was not my son's survival alone, but the hope that people, even those branded by sin, can be more than the damage they have done. But as Dante brushes his hand against my cheek, silent and changed, I know the price of mercy is never paid in full. The war ended here, but wounds remain, and the future still asks its own, impossible questions. For now, we claim the victory bought with blood, but the shadows remind us. The fight for salvation is never truly done. Dawn coats the mansion in gold. Not the sharp flare of alarm, but the reluctant warmth of after. For the first time in days, the house is quiet. Not from exhaustion or caution, but a hush that signals nothing more to fear, at least for now. Medical teams sweep the ruined halls, tending wounds. Security details lower their heads, grief and pride stitched together. The nightmares are over, the kind that roar in with gunfire and go out limping. I move through the remnants of battle. The walls still hold dents and stories, flowers replaced with bandages and gratitude. Armand sleeps without wires, safety writ small in his breath. Petrova stands by the kitchen window, tea steaming, watching the sky as if the right kind of blue will erase every wound. Beside her, a nurse hums an old lullaby. The world is trying, timid and faithful, to make normalcy mean something again. But peace, I learn, is not the same as restoration. Dante finds me in the garden. The morning sun makes him vulnerable. Soft in profile, tired in posture, hands uncharacteristically empty. He stands among tomatoes and dew, a man who's survived his own worst prophecies. His shadow doesn't loom today. It follows politely. "How's Armin?" he asks, voice stripped of title. "Just a man now." "Sleeping," I say. And the word is both prayer and astonishment. We sit on a low stone wall, silence settling where confessions used to. He brushes the dirt from his palms, searching for words more difficult than any threat he's ever made. "You can stay," he offers, hesitant. The promise no longer carries the sharp sting of captivity, but the aching hope of opportunity, safety as a choice, not a chain. I look at him, tracing the lines of fatigue around his eyes. I think of how love can be a lock or a key, of how desire for security sometimes feels like a cage, even when made by gentle hands. "It would be easier," I say, "staying with you. There's a world outside this gate I don't trust anymore." He lets me finish, then sighs. The weight of leader, hero, and lost father pressing into one fragile inhalation. "You won't have to trust the world," he says. "My city is loyal to a promise. If you walk these streets, you're protected. Not because I command it, but because mercy is finally a currency here." I reach for his hand, holding it not with romance, but with gratitude and mourning for all we both lost. "And if I choose to go?" His thumb brushes the inside of my wrist, a small gesture, oddly intimate. "You go," he says with an ache beneath certainty. "No one follows you, not unless you want them, but the city knows. If you whisper, I'll hear it." He stands. In the shadow of the garden gate, he hesitates, a moment so full of unspoken need even the sun pretends not to watch. "I let my daughter go too late," he says quietly. "I won't make that mistake twice. Tears threaten, but I've gotten good at folding pain into acceptance." I step close, press a thank you to his cheek, warm and quick, the kind of contact that haunts long after. "You could ask me to stay," I murmur, feeling hope and sorrow braid together. He shakes his head, proud and gentle. "If you stay, I want it to be because you choose healing over hiding. Not because I've replaced your fear with my shadow." We return inside, where Armin wakes, drowsy and clear-eyed, calling for me and the hero he doesn't know he's met. I tuck a blanket around him, words whispering between us that are more lullaby than law. You are loved, you are safe, you are free. I pack a small bag, careful about which souvenirs to keep, tokens of survival, footprints of pain, the bracelet Dante gave back, heavy with a ghost's forgiveness. Petrova helps us to the car with all the tenderness her iron voice can muster. You could call, she says. If you miss soup or second chances, I smile, honest. If I ever want both, you'll be the first. Dante waits at the gate, arms folded, offering no ceremony. This is your road, he says, nodding. Your life. I am only the city's witness now. We exchange nothing that sounds like goodbye. He leans down to look Armin in the eyes, gentle, careful not to paint the memory too brightly. You're always welcome here, little man, he says, voice soft as dusk. And so is your mother. I drive away with the sun in my eyes and the mansion in my rear view, feeling the ache of peace, the way it fills and empties you at the same time. My freedom is not a celebration, but a slow relearning of the world's terms. I know the city's rules have changed, not just for me or Dante, but for everyone who believes in mercy given freely. Later, Armand and I walk an unfamiliar neighborhood. No one stares, no one whispers. I feel the city watching gently, honoring the silence bought in blood and grace. At every shadowed corner, I sense the echo of a promise. You are safe, you are seen, you are never alone. Night falls with no alarms, but my heart keeps a vigil anyway. I wonder if Dante stands in his garden, missing us. A man who let go because love finally demanded it. My goodbye remains tangled between lips and memory, bittersweet and unfinished, a seed for forgiveness, a wish for someday, a prayer for what comes next. From chaos to quiet ache, I walk into the world again, protected by more than his shadow, changed by more than fear. This, I realize, is what freedom costs, and what true love sometimes gives. Letting go so both can heal, trusting peace to be enough, even if it never quite fills the space love leaves behind. Spring comes slowly to the city, shy in its tenderness, green sneaking between stones laid by tired hands. In our new apartment, modest, sunlit, safe, I relearn how to trust rhythm and time. Armand's laughter has found its old exuberance, filling corners with joy so crisp it aches. His scars are hidden now, buried under skin busy growing. But late at night he still presses against me, proving in sleep that I am home and he is whole. We walk to the park most afternoons. There he runs wild, cheeks flushed, collecting treasures in pockets and stories on lips. For a while I am just any mother, watching shadows play across playground rubber. The ordinary is glorious. Coffee warming my hands, sun hugging the clouds, no alarms threading my pulse. But habit makes me vigilant. I check faces, cars, corners, the perimeter of peace. My freedom is real, but so is the memory of a promise paid too dearly. You're safe, I whisper to Armin, and most days I believe it. Then, on a day flung wide with sunlight, a black car stalls at the park's edge. Not close enough for danger, but close enough to unsettle the gentle rhythm I've learned to crave. The windows are shaded, shielded, not secret, but still a message. I stand taller, curiosity tangled with a fear I've not entirely named. Armand darts to me, waving a bright stone, oblivious. Look, Mama. He hugs me fiercely. A silent language travels from the car to the playground, urgent and unhurried. Vigilance, care, unspoken vows. Inside the car, I glimpse a silhouette. Profile bent to a phone, hand tracing absent patterns on the window. No threat, just watchful certainty. Dante, the city's shadow, keeping a promise he never asked me to keep for him. The world slows. For months I have tried to mend my heart, sewing new routines and softer loves into the old fabric. But his absence is a shape that never quite leaves the room. His presence, however distant, tightens something hopeful and restless inside me. I watch the car, pulse stuttering with possibility and dread. Should I wave? Should I cross the grass and shatter the fragile peace? My lips recite the story. Grief, Rescue, chaos, goodbye. But my heart writes new lines, younger and braver. What if fate isn't finished? What if his mercy is just patience disguised? Arman, growing impatient with the dark in my eyes, tugs my sleeve. "Who's that, Mama?" he asks. "Just someone making sure you're happy," I reply, voice thick with secrets hardened by time. The car idles, then doors, front and back, open slowly. A man in a dark suit steps out, surveys the park, never pretending he's anyone else. He stays by the car, posture relaxed but vigilant, eyes never settling, as if guarding both me and the memory of promises redeemed and owed. A message arrives a minute later on my phone. No sender, just 5 words, laugh often. I am nearby. I smile, tears pricking betrayal and longing together, and text 2 back. He is. I try. The car stops through the hour, then departs, dissolving into city traffic. For days afterward, I find new comfort in his ghostly presence. His city, his rules, shaping freedom that finally feels like mine. Yet I wonder, is my heart free, or only waiting, strengthened by solitude, but restless for the kind of love that refuses to disappear, the kind that watches from a distance until fate dares it closer? When Arman sleeps, I sit by the window, promise heavy and curious, imagining what might happen if another chance arrived. A future where courage and forgiveness are currency. And the doors he held open are finally walked through by both of us. Part 2 is written in the unspoken hours, where every hope is a new reason. For love, for reunion, for the story to finish what chaos began. The city is quieter but not healed. My heart is lighter but not whole. Whenever that car returns, and it will, I know there will be a moment, a choice, a reckoning where fate asks, will you step forward or hide in old wounds? Will you risk everything for a new promise, or let mercy finish what blood started? If you want to see how loyalty, love, and vengeance collide again, demand the next part. Let the story answer whether 2 fractured souls can find redemption in each other, or if fate has one last twist to write. Comment below if you're ready for the sequel. Only the bold will see how their journey continues. Their debts are repaid and their hearts are truly set free. The real ending is still waiting to be claimed.